Well, what's going on, everybody? The self proclaimed face of boxing always continues to try to put himself in the public eye. He can't stay out of the limelight. He's always trying to get attention, putting himself out there. You would think the guy that has made so much money over the course of his career um, would be enjoying his retirement, spending time with his family, uh, focusing on his businesses that he has outside of boxing and even his business that he has within the boxing world, which is his promotional company. You would think he'd be focusing on, trying to create the next Floyd Mayweather, trying to really try to help other fighters and, just focus on things that he has going on outside of life. Because you would think that all of those things, his promotional company, he's got the girl collection club. He had this project, I think, with he had created like a chain of gyms and stuff like that. Now he's even talking about training fighters. You would think, and all of this stuff would keep him busy. And plus, he's got his family. He's got that issue going on with his daughter. You would think that he'd be focused on trying to, help her out. But this guy, Floyd Mayweather's always, always, always in front of a camera trying to get attention. And he's always, always, always coming up with these gimmicks to try to make a buck. Hey, what's up, King Nello? So with all this stuff going on with the crisis and the coronavirus, Floyd Mayweather has yet came up with another gimmick to try to put some dollars in his pocket. Forget about these exhibitions against guys that have no shot in hell of beating him. That guy Tension, which was kind of a circus act, but I watched it, so I contributed to the circus. I didn't pay for it, but obviously I watched it. In the fight with Conor McGregor, and now he's talking about coming out of retirement again, and we know he's not going to fight any top level guy. We know he's going to try to fight, an MMA guy or someone, some type of exhibition who, against someone that has no shot at beating him. So again, it's his right to try to make a dollar any way he wants to. But again, at this stage of his career, like I said, you would think that he wouldn't have to do these gimmicky things to try to make a dollar. But here's the latest gimmick that he has going on right now. And he's got these like this online meet and greet type thing where he's charging fans $2,300. $2,300 to meet him online and talk to him and have a face-to-face experience with him. So amidst all this craziness that's going on right now with the virus, this guy's trying to charge people $2,300, and most people are hurting for cash. They're out of work. They're just trying to put food on the table and support their families. And this guy is trying to gouge them by charging them $2,300 to meet for a meet and greet. It's like, this is what he says here. Now here's your chance to meet me no matter where you at around the world. You can ask me anything about my 50 fights. Ask me what's my eating regimen. Ask me what's my best fight. Ask me what's my best knockout. Ask me what I do every day in retirement. To be the best, you must always work overtime. This event is unbelievable. You guys won't want to miss out. I got some exclusive pieces I will be signing just for this event. I can't wait to meet you all. I want to meet your family, your friends. Okay. So this is a guy who retired in 2017, made over $1 billion. His fights have grossed over $1 billion in his career. This guy is supposedly supposed to be worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Made allegedly almost like in between 450 to 500,000 in two fights alone with Conor McGregor and Manny Pacquiao. But yet he has to resort to these types of things to continue to make money. These gimmicky things. And this is what 50 Cent had to say. He said, money's gone due to his excessive spending. And he's saying Mayweather will be at your local nightclub because he needs the action right now. So again, like, you're having to pimp yourself out to these nightclubs, charging people fees just to appear at nightclubs. You're challenging MMA fighters now. He's challenging Khabib and saying he can make $600 million. It's a joke, man. So this bears the question, because Floyd Mayweather has to resort to these gimmicks, because he has to constantly come out of retirement or constantly say that he's going to come out of retirement and fight like these circus act, sideshow type events, be in these circus type sideshow events, and always having to like charge for appearances. It's almost like those wrestlers, like those WWE wrestlers that end up going back to like the independent circuit, and then they have to like go to like these events to sign autograph pictures just to make money. It just seems like he's doing desperate things right now to make cash that a guy in his position wouldn't have to do. So is the money running out? Is the excessive spending catching up with him? And now he's saying he's going to come out of retirement once again for another sideshow type fight. So what's going on with Floyd Mayweather? Why can't this guy just ride off into the sunset like Bernard Hopkins did, like Andre Ward did, like Timothy Bradley did, like the Klitschko's did? And why can't he focus on his family? Why can't he focus on doing something positive for the sport of boxing? Why can't he focus on trying to help the young fighters that he has under his promotional banner? Why can't he focus on those things? And why is he continuously trying to hustle people out of money? And then basically after that Conor McGregor fight, he said, "Oh, I robbed the bank." He's basically telling everyone that was like a hustle, like that was kind of like a bullshit fight, and he pulled one over on the fans, telling you like, "Oh, you're a sucker if you bought this fight," basically, because this was a joke. He's telling you that the fight was a joke by saying, "Hey, this was robbed another bank." Basically telling the fans that he robbed them out of a real fight. So I don't know, man. The next event that he does, if he does do it, I'm definitely not going to pay for it. There's no way in hell I'm going to pay for it. And then he goes on camera and takes a whole bunch of money and puts it on a table and says, "Hey, man, I know people are suffering from the coronavirus, but not me, man. I made smart moves. I saved my money, blah, 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 blah." Okay, well, again, if you have all this money, then why are you doing these gimmicks? Number one. And number two, he's always talking about, his gambling and stuff like that and how much he's won. But anyone that's gambled over the years, and you see guys who always brag about what they won, take those winnings and times them by 3, and that's usually how much they lost. So Floyd has definitely been a big time gambler over the years, and he probably does have a gambling problem. So that could be where a lot of the money went to. And he's got all these cars that he's never going to probably drive. He's got all this jewelry, and jewelry is like the stupidest thing you could buy. Like if you're in your like mid 40s and you're still buying shitloads of jewelry that's going to depreciate. Jewelry is like the stupidest thing you could buy, man, in large quantities, man. It depreciates like crazy. And then he bought this I think he bought this car. I think it was a Vector. He bought a Vector, and he was trying to sell it, and the offers were like half of what he paid for the car. Like he's spending like $1 million on a car. It's like, you know, you don't see Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and even Jay-Z and P. Diddy, now that they're older now, you don't hear them brag about how much money they have. Like Jay-Z and P. Diddy, they're focusing on like companies, like focusing on starting businesses and making money that way. You don't see Jay-Z doing gimmicky stuff like this, you know? You don't see P. Diddy doing gimmicky stuff like this. You don't see any of these other fighters doing gimmicky stuff like this. So why is Floyd Mayweather resorting to doing gimmicky stuff like this? It's a bad look, bro. It's a bad look. Looks like he's doing desperate things to make a buck. $2,300. 2,300. Who's gonna pay $2,300 for a meet and greet? It's not even in person. It's like you're paying $2,300 for like a Zoom session. That's crazy, guys. That's crazy. That is bananas. Let's look at some of this other stuff that because there's a lot of stories about this. The Sun wrote an article. The headline is how broke Floyd Mayweather won and lost $1 billion career earnings from lavish parties to love for the bling. And here's another headline by Fox Sports. Has money gone broke? Boxing champ Floyd Mayweather charging fans $2,300 for online meet and greet. The Nevada Herald is even writing about him, saying Floyd Mayweather launches new hustle amid speculation he is broke. Bleacher Report, Floyd Mayweather Jr. is knocked out of money. Like everyone's questioning this. Everyone's questioning this. You know, all these scams, man. It's ridiculous, man. It's kind of embarrassing to see a guy who made all this money kind of fall off. Even Mike Tyson, you know, he lost all that money. But see what Mike Tyson's doing like smart things. He's doing productive things. You know what I mean? He's doing like real positive things. Like he's got his podcast going on. He did that show where, you know, he would sell out arenas and tell his life story. And that's some positive stuff. Like you're actually going to a show. Mike Tyson's narrating it. He's actually putting a lot of effort into it. It takes a lot of talent to do that. And it takes a lot of determination and discipline to be able to go up on stage in front of a whole crowd of people live and tell your story. You know, look at Andre Ward. He's doing what he always wanted to do. He said, you know, when I retire, I want to become a commentator, and he's becoming one of the best commentators in boxing. I would consider him a top commentator right now. Tim Bradley's commentating. You know, Lennox Lewis is commentating. So, you know, Buddy McGirt's training fighters. Like these guys are contributing to the sport in a positive way. What is Floyd Mayweather doing? Charging you $2,300 to tell you what he fucking eats every day? It's a fucking joke, bro. I don't give a fuck what you eat every day. That's an insult trying to charge people $2,300. Oh, what am I doing in my retirement? You need to fucking worry about your daughter, man, who's facing fucking serious jail time. You need to focus on her. You know? And your uncle just passed away, and you know, your longtime ex-girlfriend passed away. Like you should be grieving right now, but yet this dude's flossing, you know, and okay, yeah, he'll floss what he has, but how much does he owe? How much does he owe? You know, it's great that you can show me $1 million, but what good is that $1 million if you owe friggin' 4 million or 5 million in back taxes? You know? Yeah, and that's a good point, Gucci Kid. Like Ward's guiding Shakur Stevenson's career. He's guiding Shakur Stevenson's career. And again, you know, nobody wants to celebrate in someone else's shortcomings and hard times and stuff like this. But karma's a bitch, man. Karma's a bitch. And is this karma for Floyd Mayweather? Possibly. Always bragging about how much money he has and throwing it in the face of everyone else. And saying how great he is and how the smart moves he made. But again, You're kind of turning yourself into a circus sideshow freak right now. So this is just crazy shit, man. This is just crazy shit. What do you guys think, man? Do you think Floyd ran out of the cash? You guys think Floyd ran out of the cash? And when this coronavirus is all over, do you guys see Floyd Mayweather coming out and trying to rip us off again with another gimmick? And that's the thing. Like, shout out to Smarty Jones talking about Devin Haney starting to flash his cash on Instagram. Also, Adrian. Like, this is the thing. Fighters and athletes are role models no matter what. No matter what they say, people are going to look at them and they're going to emulate them. They're going to try to emulate them. They're going to try to do what they do. And, you got guys like Devin Haney, you got guys like Adrian Broner who are going to look at Floyd Mayweather and they're going to try and beat him like that. So that's like what Devin Haney's doing right now, trying to act like Floyd Mayweather. And that whole comment about the white boy thing, this is the thing. There's no false outrage. I'm not offended by what Devin Haney said, but why is it? Andre Ward said something, and I'm gonna reiterate, and I'm gonna kind of piggyback off what Andre Ward said. Why is it every time you have a black fighter trying to get popular and trying to get mainstream attention from fans, why is it that he always has to act controversial, always has to say controversial things, always has to put on an act like he's the bad guy? He always got to like wear the black hat. He's got to be the heel all the time. He said he's like, why does the black guy have to act a fool just to get attention? And Devin Haney kind of reinforced that stereotype that, hey, you know what? That African-American fighters have to act controversial just to get fans to watch him and get attention. So all this stuff about, oh yeah, like maybe he did it just to hype up himself and his career or whatever. And this is no disrespect to Devin Haney, but Devin Haney was never like that. Like he was always the humble guy. He was the guy that would tell you, I want to work hard. I want to become a world champion, blah, 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 blah. But now, you put him on that platform with 78 Sports, no disrespect to 78 Sports, but we all know 78 Sports, the type of environment that is on his channel. We already know that. So just because you're on that type of platform, you don't let someone gas you up and just say things just so you can like get attention. Because Sugar Ray Leonard never had to do that. Evander Holyfield never had to do that. There's a lot of great African-American fighters that made a lot of money that did not have to do that. They didn't. You could say what you want about Mike Tyson, but Mike Tyson was, off camera who he was on camera. So you have to ask yourself, all these guys putting on a show when the camera's on, like I know people that have met Adrian Broner one-on-one, walked up to him, shook his hand, talked to him for a while, and they say he's not like that. But when you put him on camera, in front of a group of people, that's when he starts acting up. So again, like, do African-American fighters have to act like that to get attention? Because that's what Floyd is that's what Floyd is telling all these guys. Like, you want to get attention, you gotta go out there and grab it. Like, you gotta be like me, And that's not to say that Floyd didn't train hard, that he wasn't disciplined, that he didn't live a clean lifestyle, but he did go out and party a lot too. So, but he still put the time in the gym. He still honed his craft. But he put on this character image, and people wanted to watch him just so they could see him lose. So if you're going to play that role, and then people start, if you're going to play the bad guy role, and then people start cracking on you for playing the bad guy role, then then you have to face the repercussions of your comments. You can say whatever you want, but you have to be able to deal with the repercussions of your comment. Devin wasn't acting or acting a fool. He just said what he felt. Now that I totally disagree, because why did he apologize? And then he says sensitive ass bias fans made it a big deal. No, not really, because why are people sensitive that people criticize Devin Haney? So here's the thing. If you're getting all bent out of shape because someone criticized somebody for something they said, then aren't you just as sensitive as that person? Why would you care what someone else says? Like, if someone has, you can't tell someone else how to feel, and you can't be a hypocrite, because how many times do people say things and the African American community jumps all over them, and that person that said something totally didn't mean it the way that it's perceived. So he apologized, and his father wasn't on board with it either. Like, when he said it, you could see his father's face. His father was like, "What the fuck did this dude just say?" You think Devin Haney really, really believes that statement that he said? He just said it because he was gassed up at the time. He was all hyped up at the time. He was feeling himself, and he said it. Stacks says, M Stacks 85 said, Beeb, you weren't offended, and I'm sure you have heard statements like that. I have. I've been in gyms. I've been in gyms, and I've heard crazy shit that people say to each other, shit that people say to me. I've had people say that same statement to me. I laughed it off. It didn't offend me, but you can't be offended also by the backlash. If you say something like that, you gotta know. You gotta know when you say something like that, that's going to elicit a response. You know, people are going to give you pushback on that comment. You know that, and so you got to deal with it. If you say something controversial like that, like the minute that came out your mouth, you know that's a controversial statement. We can agree on that. So when you say something controversial, you can't get mad when people come at you afterwards. Face the repercussions of your comments. Because anytime you talk about race in this country, we already know it's a lightning rod. And to pretend that it's not, you're lying to yourself. Okay, but African Americans are sensitive too when people say things. Like y'all was sensitive about Tyson Fury. Oh, if Deontay Wilder had the gloves like that, he would have gotten in trouble. Everyone would have jumped on him, blah, 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 but because Tyson Fury's white. So you guys were sensitive when Deontay Wilder lost. Deontay Wilder fans. The Deontay Wilder fans were making that fight about race when it wasn't about race. So you guys were sensitive. You guys really believe in your heart that because Tyson Fury was like, people were saying, oh, Tyson Fury got away with cheating because he was white. Larry Merchant. I'm going to be honest with you, M Stacks. That's a very good point. Of course, it's the same, Stacks. Come on, man. Here we go. Here we go. It's not the same when you don't want it to be the same. Okay, and people were mad and offended because of what Devin Haney said. You can't tell someone not to be offended. Like if I'm sitting here like this, tapping a pen, and that bothers somebody, and that's aggravating somebody, and maybe it wouldn't aggravate somebody else, then, if you're doing this knowing you're going to aggravate someone by doing it, and the person tells you you're aggravating them and you still do it, then you're trying to freaking get under that person's skin. You're trying to elicit a negative response out of that person. The minute Devin Haney said that statement, he knew what was going to happen afterwards. At the time when he said it, I bet you in the back of his mind, he's like, oh shit, should I have said that? It happens, bro. It happens. That's definitely the same, man. That's definitely the same. Of course, that's the same. Because you don't want it to be the same. Thank you, King Nello, for signing up. Hey, if you guys sign, I added a okay, well then again, you can. That's the thing. If you want it to be banter, some people will take it as banter, some people won't. You can't you can't tell people how to feel about something that's being said. Again, everybody has. You can't say, well, this person's sensitive, but when something bothers you that people think that shouldn't bother you or didn't think that it would bother you, and then you complain about it, can they turn around and call you sensitive? You know, Larry Merchant's an ass, anyways. Like the shit he said about De La Hoya, that's the shit he said. Like, I agree with you there. I'm not a big Larry Merchant fan, to tell you the truth. I thought he was very disrespectful to fighters, man. And I thought Larry Merchant did have a hint of he was sort of racial. I thought like he would never ever criticize white fighters. Like he loved Kelly Pavlik. You know, he loved him. If we're gonna trip over this, then let's give Conor McGregor a punch. You're preaching to the choir, man. I've never ever been a fan of Conor McGregor outside. But again, here's the problem. This is the problem we have, man. Instead of taking everything and putting it in the same box, like, okay, in other words, when someone does something wrong and then another person does something wrong, we always find ourselves getting in the debate of which one is worse. It's like trying to say what's worse, AIDS or cancer, when they're both bad. Like we go about these, we always try to like, you know, debate each other with whataboutisms. Well, what about this? Or what about that? Why can't we just say like for instance, I got in a debate with somebody about Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis put his hand around his girlfriend's throat. I believe the mother of his children, right in front of everybody in a crowd at an event. Put his hands on her throat and grabbed her and yanked her up. And then people are like, oh, what about what Sergey Kovalev did? Blah 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 blah. They both fucked up. They're both wrong. But M-Stacks, you were sensitive about Tyson Fury. You guys got all sensitive just because a fighter you wanted to win lost. So what's worse? What's worse? Let's be honest, bro. Let's be honest. What's worse? What's being more sensitive? Anybody punches an old man, they're going to get crucified. Anybody. No one co-signed that. You know what the problem with the UFC is? That's Dana White's problem. That's not the media's problem. That's not the fans' problem. That's Dana. If you have an issue with Conor McGregor being able to do shit, go to Dana White. That's what happens when you have one guy running everything with no sanctioning bodies or anything. Yeah, Wilder fans didn't get sensitive because he lost. They sat there and made up 50 excuses why he lost, and they accused Tyson Fury of cheating. So y'all got sensitive about that. Why'd you get sensitive about that? Why'd you get sensitive about that? Conor McGregor is a creation of Dana White. Dana White never reeled him in. If Dana White pulled him off of cards, and if Dana White fucking started sanctioning this guy, started pulling this guy aside and saying, hey man, what the fuck are you doing? Then he never would have been able to do what he did. And that's a fact. That's Dana White's problem. But you guys cried when Wilder lost, and you cried. You guys were making videos. You Wilder fans, you were making videos 2 or 3 a day crying about how Wilder was cheated. All of you guys were. All you guys were. His left glove didn't look suspect. Did not look suspect. You guys were taking footage from the first fight and comparing it to the second fight. So we're not going to go down that road. We're not going to go down that road. Well, if you're not white, you won't get. If you're not white, you won't get what Devin Haney's comments meant either. So I could say the same thing to you. If you're not white, then of course you're not going to care about what Devin Haney said about white people. You got to use a little bit of logic here. You got to use a little bit of logic here. If I could empathize with you over the racial shit that Larry Merchant said and other commentators said, then you should be able to empathize with these boxing fans who complained. If you're going to sit there and say what Devin Haney said wasn't controversial, then you are lying to yourself, man. You know you're lying to yourself. You know you're lying to yourself. And if you can't be honest with yourself, then that's a problem you got with yourself. Are you going to sit there and say white people have all the advantage? They do. I agree. White people are the majority. Of course, they have all. In any society, okay, in any society. But here's the thing. In boxing, white people are the minority. Black people are the majority. Okay? So you can't play the minority card in boxing because black fighters are the majority. If you were to take all the top boxers in the history of the sport, okay, the majority of them were black. Majority of them were black. The highest paid boxers in the world were not white. Name one time a white boxer was the highest paid athlete in the sport of boxing. Never. Never. Sugar Ray Leonard, when he fought, he was the man. Okay? Tyson fought, he was the man. Anthony Joshua is the man right now. Or Canelo. Canelo is Mexican. He's technically not white. He's Hispanic. So you can't complain about being the minority in a sport where you're the majority. This ain't the Jack Johnson days anymore. This ain't the Jack Johnson days anymore. So you're right. You're right. Anytime you're a majority in any situation, you're going to have leverage over the minority. There's no question about that. I will never disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree with that. So this is you. If you want to talk about race in any other facet of life, I'm not in a position to argue with you. I'm not. I can't argue with you. But remember, in the sport of boxing, African American fighters are the majority. They're the majority. Let's look. Let's go online. Let's go to ringtv.com. But I will say one thing. Paulie Malignaggi did make a point. There are a lot of Eastern European fighters right now that are starting to gain some ground and gain some traction. But I still don't know if I would agree that they're taking over the sport. So let's look at the ratings. Let's look at the ring ratings. Let's look at heavyweight. And let's look at, so Tyson Fury is the champion in the Ring magazine. But then you got Anthony. So let's look at the heavyweight division. We're going to look at the top 10 in the heavyweight division in the Ring magazine. Okay? You got Tyson Fury's white, Anthony Joshua 1, 2, 3. There's 3. So you got Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder. They got Dillian White ahead of Deontay Wilder. That's crazy. Wow. So you got Anthony Joshua, Dillian White, Deontay Wilder, Luis Ortiz. You could say he's a person of color. Andrew Ruiz, he's not white. So you got Povetkin, he's white. Joseph Parker, New Zealand. He's a person of color too, I would think. Michael Hunter, Oscar Rivas, another person of color. Kubrat Pulev. So out of the top 10 fighters in the heavyweight division, you got 1, 2, 3. Okay? So 70% of the top 10 fighters in the heavyweight division are black or people of color. So there you go. So let's look at the cruiserweight division now. This division, I think, would be an Eastern European division. So you got Breedis. Dortikas is a person of color. Ulunga Makabu, he's a person of color. Glaskov is white. Kevin Lorena, South African, he's white. Andrew Tabiti is African American. Lawrence Akoli, African American. Arzin Gulamirin, he's white. Theobian Muchin is a person of color. And you got Michael Cieslak is a white person. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So even in a division where the Eastern Europeans are very popular, that's like 50-50 there. So I mean, we can go down the list, man. We can go. Let's take a look at light heavyweights. This is the division probably where the Eastern Europeans are really making some ground here. You got Beterbiev, you got Vozdik, you got Bivol, you got Kovalev, Alida Alvarez, person of color, Jean Pascal, person of color, Badu Jack, person of color, Marcus Brown, person of color. Then you got Joe Smith and you got Dominic Basel. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a division where the Eastern Europeans really have a lot. So here's the thing, man. I mean, I could spend all day doing this, but I think we can agree. If you were to look at all the top fighters in the sport of boxing, predominantly they'll be African Americans over the history of the sport. You know, let's look at the pound for pound. Let's take a look at the pound for pound because I'm curious to see that. Wow. So you got Canelo Alvarez, Vasily Lomachenko. You got Inoue. Wow. Terrence Crawford is 4. Errol Spence is 6. Golovkin is 7. Estrada is 8. Beterbiev is 9. Pacquiao's 10. Wow. Wow. So Malignaggi, I don't know. He may have a point here because look at all the Eastern Europeans you have on this pound for pound list. You got 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have Manny Pacquiao, who's Asian. Got Estrada, who's Hispanic. So let's look. You got 1, 2. Wow, there's only 2 African Americans on the pound for pound list. So, wow. But I still think I think it's changing a little bit. But but I still think if you looked at all the top fighters collectively in the sport of boxing, I think the majority of them would still be African American. But I think Paulo Malignaggi has a point. I have Teofimo over Loma. I think Teofimo is bigger. I think he's faster. I think he's stronger. I think he punches harder. And I think Loma is starting to slip a little bit. I actually think Teofimo could knock Loma out. I think he can knock Loma out. I think he can definitely knock Loma out. But I think over the years in boxing, I think African Americans have been the majority when it comes to the top fighters in the sport. Like you got Floyd Mayweather. He was the man in his era. Um, you got Mike Tyson. You got Evander Holyfield. Those guys were running shit for a while. Roy Jones was running shit for a while. Sugar Ray Leonard, Malvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns. Got George Foreman, Muhammad Ali. Got all these guys. Like if you go down in the history of the sport, like Sugar Ray Robinson's perceived to be the best fighter of all time. He's an African American, man. But I will say things are changing a little bit. Like the Eastern Europeans are starting to make a run. I think Paulie Malignaggi has a point. But the heavyweights, I think Tyson Fury is the best fighter in the division. But outside of him, the other top heavyweights are African American. So it's tough. But I think over the course of time, and I still think even now, even though the Eastern Europeans are making a run, I still think the African American fighters, you got Spence, you got Crawford, you got Joshua, you still got Wilder in the mix, But the super middleweights, man, that's a different dynamic too. The middleweights too. The middleweights, you got Golovkin, you got Alvarez. So yeah, man. I mean, things are changing a little bit, but still, you still got a lot of Hispanic fighters too. So things are starting to change a little bit. Man. But I think throughout the course of history, especially in the modern era, I think for the most part, African Americans have been the majority when it comes to the top fighters in the sport. And for the most part, since I've been around, it's always been an African American who has made the most. Now, Canelo may be the top guy right now, but we don't know. Like Joshua made a lot of money last year. And Canelo only fought one. I think how many times did Canelo fight last year? Let's take a look. I think this is the year that Joshua's probably going to pass Canelo in earnings. Let's look how much he made. Because Canelo Alvarez has not been fighting a lot. Okay, so Canelo Alvarez did fight twice last year, but he fought Sergey Kovalev and Danny Jacobs. And let's look at Anthony Joshua fought twice, fought Andy Ruiz twice. So I don't know how much he made in Saudi, but it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be. Let me see how many times Anthony Joshua fought. Someone's saying he fought 3 times. Let's take a look at that. He may. Because I think he fought Povetkin too. You're right. No, he didn't. That was 2018. Yeah. So Joshua fought Andy Ruiz twice. So it'll be interesting to see if Joshua passes Canelo, man. It'll be interesting to see. So yeah, it is what it is. Wow, this thing kind of took a turn from Floyd Mayweather. But yeah, I think Floyd Mayweather kind of had a big influence on boxing today, like a lot of fighters he definitely changed the pay scale. A lot of fighters are asking for a lot of money now for taking big fights, more so than ever before. Like even fights that people perceive wouldn't be a big fight, they're still asking for a lot of money. Like people are trying to emulate Floyd Mayweather a lot. You see a lot of guys trying to use the shoulder roll now. You see a lot of guys trying to talk trash like Floyd Mayweather. So Are they cheap imitations, or is the Floyd Mayweather formula working? I don't know. Some people can argue that Floyd Mayweather had a negative impact on the sport now because of fighters being very selective in their opponents and wanting big money. And again, I have no complaint with the fighter trying to get the most money he wants. But did Floyd Mayweather have an impact on how people approach their careers now and carry themselves and all this and that? Possibly. But again, be yourself. Like Bernard Hopkins was himself. Andre Ward was himself. Tim Bradley was himself. Sugar Ray Leonard was himself. Mike Tyson was himself. Evander Holyfield was himself. He never had to talk shit to make a lot of money. Riddick Bowe, he really didn't have to talk too much shit to make a lot of money. Lennox Lewis, these guys were who they were. They didn't try to be somebody else. But then you could argue like Muhammad Ali had a lot of impact on people too. Like how many heavyweights have said, Muhammad Ali was a big influence. But again, Muhammad Ali did a lot of positive things in his life, man. Muhammad Ali gave back. He helped a lot of people. Did a lot of things, diplomatically throughout the world. He traveled to places. Like Floyd Mayweather is kind of a narcissistic guy, in my opinion. All he cares about is himself. And when you see him like at press conferences, when he's the promoter of an event, he's talking about himself more than he's talking about his fighters. So you gotta question that a little bit, man. Tyson ain't giving back. I don't know about that. Like Tyson's kind of an inspiration because he's showing you that you can come back after being down. He's sort of like got a Tyson Fury type story. So when you listen to Mike Tyson talk, you can see how he's grown a little bit, and he's kind of telling people that, you know what, you can come back, man. You can come back from adversity. You can come back from suffering hardships in your life. Now, if that's how you feel, I'm not going to try and change your mind, but I disagree somewhat with that statement and Stacks, but it is what it is, man. Yeah. All right, guys. I think that's about it. Anyone got anything else that they want to talk about, man? I'll put a link in the chat if anyone wants to join in. Does anyone want to talk, like give their take on this whole thing, man? I'll put a link in the chat if anyone wants to jump in. Does anyone want to jump in and give their point on this? Do you guys think Floyd's running out of money? You think Floyd's kind of trying to do these gimmicky things, man? You think Floyd's trying to do these gimmicky things to try to make some money because he's running out of cash? Do you guys think he's going broke? Am I off base here, man? Let me know. All right, I'll probably jump on later today, man. Some people want some videos done today, so I may jump on later today. I'm gonna go out for a walk, get some sunlight here, and maybe I'll come back later. Mike is on hotboxing ahead, getting deep and spiritual. Yeah, Mike's. I think Mike's putting out a positive image now, man. In my opinion, I think he's putting out more of a positive image than Floyd Mayweather is. So it is what it is, man. All right, I'll talk to y'all soon, man. It is what it is, man. Have a good day. Maybe I'll jump on later. Peace.